one-time payment.
Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning and welcome to the July 29th, 2004 meeting of Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Madam Clerk?
There are no scheduled appointments for today under resolutions, job and family services bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
I don't believe there was investments. Appropriations?
How many were in the appropriations? I believe number 1 of 6 was pulled. So are we voting on 2 through 6?
Yes, as far as I'm
Yes.
concerned.
Okay, so I'll make the motions numbers 2 through 6 of 6.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
I have some exceptions, though. Exception on 6 of 6. That's the only one. I was going to hold 1 of 6 if we didn't.
Transfers?
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Advances and repayments?
I didn't think there was any.
Nope. Sorry. Requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye, with the exception of 1303, 1304, 1308, and 1347.
Travel expenses?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Bills?
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within the jurisdiction of Lorain County Board of Commissioners.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Which summary? Is it this one here?
It's
The
the new
last
one
one.
with 9 items on it.
I got
1
one
through
with 12 items.
12? I have 9.
Well, Commissioners, I'm going to be requesting executive session, and I think while we're there, we can straighten out which sheet we have with regard to the personal action summary sheet. But I will specifically be talking about requesting the executive session to discuss a pending disciplinary issue at the Golden Acres Nursing Home.
So where do we stand on this? Teresa, who had voted on it?
Mrs. Vacy gave the motion, you gave the second. Do you want to withdraw?
And did you, you questioned?
Yes.
And then he
Okay.
questioned.
I'll withdraw my second.
And I'll withdraw the motion.
Thanks.
We'll hold this until after the executive session.
Under the Commissioners, number 10, approve Lorain County Board of Commissioners meeting minutes and waive the reading of the same for May 27th, June 3rd, 10th, 16th, 17th, 24th, and 29th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Amend Resolution Number 03447, adopted June 12, 2003, Commissioners Personnel Manual, Section 6.4, sick leave conversion.
Jim, would you like to elaborate on that?
Certainly, Commissioner. We have a long-term practice of following the union contract with regard to benefit issues with county employees. The vast majority of our county employees are actually non-bargaining unit. We have a lot of bargaining units, but they are not the majority of county employees. Over the years, when negotiations have taken place, the issue of cashing out sick leave upon completion of the employment relationship has been negotiated, and the number has gradually increased so that people who have accumulated their sick leave can take advantage of being paid for it or utilizing it should they leave public service. We had a problem with our personnel manual wherein about 10 years ago it spoke to the issue of a one-time payment. It didn't. We raised the hours over the years, but we never dealt with the one-time payment. So we had some people that were employed years ago, maybe a decade ago, that were here. They took a cash out at maybe 200 hours, and then for various reasons they were reemployed several years later. And when they were moving on again or changing their employment status, that the issue of the one-time payment hit them squarely in the face. And it came to the attention of the prosecutor's office, and we discussed it, and we believed that the intent was not simply a one-time payment, but the intent was not to pay any more in the aggregate. That is, you couldn't leave, cash out 500, come back, cash out 500, come back, cash out 500 if the maximum was 500. It was a total cap throughout your employment with the county. And so we recommended that the language be changed to reflect what the intent was not to achieve a greater benefit in the aggregate of any number of payments than the prevailing number that was allowed at the time. This way, nobody was penalized, but nobody was also received a bonus for coming and going from service with the county.
Thank you. That
So
sounds
bottom line,
reasonable.
excuse me, what you're saying is, for example, if it's 100 hours, they would collect the 100 hours when they leave employment, come back, and then claim that 100 hours again?
No, they couldn't claim it again. If the maximum was 100 hours, and they left and they cashed out 100, and if they were gone for 5 years and the maximum hadn't raised, and they came back and they were here a number of years and they left again, they would not be eligible for a payment because they had received 100. Now, if they received 100 and the maximum went up to 150 through the bargaining process, then they would be eligible for 50 additional hours, whatever the difference was between what they received and what the maximum is at the time.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Others?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Also move for approval.
I will second.
Further discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Instruct the clerk to advertise for bids for the demolition of buildings located at 352, 358 Commerce Court, 330 3rd Street, 348 through 354 2nd Street, and 336 2nd Street, Elyria, Ohio. Notice will be published in the Chronicle Telegram on August 9th and 16th, and bids to be open at 2 p.m. on August 26th in the Commissioners' Public Hearing Room.
So moved.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Yeah, Jim, I have a suggestion.
Yes, Commissioner.
While we're doing this, we may get a better price if we included some things at the old train station in the back. There's those ugly buildings that probably should come down. Maybe we'll get a better price
Oh,
if we include everything.
I am so agreeable. The unfortunate part is, and I don't want you to laugh, but I'm afraid if we tear that old building down, the wall's going to fall over.
No, in the back, there's some sheds.
That's what I
Are
think
they-
is holding up that back wall. Well,
Oh,
You
this
mean up
is-
against where the hill
Yes, I
there?
believe that those old wooden garages, sheds in the back, the east wall, we did some work on the east wall a number of years ago in the front of the east wall, but because those sheds were back there, we didn't get to the back corner. The very bad deterioration on that train station is in the corner of the east wall. It's the northeast corner of the wall. We have some really terrible degradation of the wall back there, structural issues. And while I say that kind of in a joking manner that the sheds may be holding it up, I'm afraid if we start tampering with anything in that east corner before we're ready to do structural repairs to that wall, which we're going to do as part of the renovation, that we may disturb enough where that wall may collapse.
All right, because it appeared to me it was just up against the hill there where the train tracks are.
Well, if you notice, the wall is leaning significantly bowed and leaning in that east corner, and I'd love to go over there with you. I'd love to get those sheds down. We've talked with maintenance. We probably could have, they're not that big. We probably could have
Right.
torn them down ourselves, or the engineers are always willing to help us with stuff like that. It's really within our ability to do. We're just afraid if we start disturbing that whole area in that east corner by the train tracks, that we may uncover or do something that's going to cause us some significant grief before we're ready to go through with the train station project. But you're right, they're an unsightly mess back there that we need to get. We boarded them up. We had a little homeless shelter going back there for a while, and we boarded that up and evicted the tenants, but we definitely need to get them down. But if you want, I could probably, for a few $100s, we'd probably get an engineer to take a look and see whether we could tear those down without disturbing that wall. It would actually add to the benefit of that area.
Well, what's the desire
Do
of
you
the
want
board?
to include that in the motion?
If you'd like, I mean,
Well, let's
I'd
do
love
that. I'd rather. Well, I'm concerned. What are these? Can you identify each one of these addresses first? We're talking what? The Commerce Court is,
Commerce Court is the building that's currently occupied by the Solid Waste Department and R.P. Carboni
Okay,
on
and
Commerce Court, next to the hotel.
333rd Street, is that the adult probation?
That's adult probation.
And Second Street is,
One of them would be the old domestic relations, which is the old Boba building. Another would be the mediation services, and another would be the forensic lab.
336 is forensic. I think that's forensic. So, forensic. And this is being paid for by, are we using the funds from the Justice Center?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, so I don't think we'd be able to use those funds for the train station then.
Well, you're accurate.
I'm just,
We could probably get some cost benefit and use some general fund money to move the sheds down, but we would not be able to use the funding pool from the Justice Center to do that work over there. I think Commissioner Vacy was just saying we can get economy of scale by
Right.
bidding it at the same time.
right.
So how do we wish to proceed? I think I made the motion.
Correct.
Why don't we leave it as it stands? That way there won't be any confusion.
And keep them as two separate projects?
Yeah, I think it'd
Yes.
be safer.
Okay, thank you.
But
Thank you,
but just
Commissioner.
in the future, though, if we're going to do anything regarding general fund money to tear down the train station, we do it as an advance in case a couple years from now we get federal funds. So if we're going to do it next week or something.
You know, Commissioner, that's, yes, I
Okay.
agree. At least, at the very least, we can use it as a match sometime in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
I
Do you want a motion now authorizing you to proceed looking at the condition?
Well, I really don't need a resolution. We'll get a couple cost proposals real quick to take a real quick look at that. If it's a responsible offer and it looks like it's not going to be a huge amount of cost, we'll see if we can bring it back next week.
Thank you,
Okay.
Jim.
Under Children and Families Council, approve and enter into contract between the Board of Commissioners, Administrative Agent for Lorain County Children and Families Council with Family Life Enrichment Center for FY05 Help Me Grow program. This contract is effective August 1st, 2004 through December 30th, 2004, in the amount of $27,288.70 for the provision of the Parents at Teachers program.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Under Community Development Department, instruct the clerk to advertise for a public hearing to be held on Thursday, August 26, 2004, at 9 a.m. in the Commissioners' Public Hearing Room for amending various sections of the county subdivision regulations. This notice will be in the Chronicle Telegram on August 5th and 12th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Under Job and Family Services, approve and enter into a purchase of service contract between Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services and Common Ground for the First Step Personal Development Program for SFY05. This contract is not in the amount not to exceed $46,382.24, effective August 1st, 2004 through June 30th, 2005, and authorize the Director of Job and Family to execute on behalf of the Board with prosecutor's approval as to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Under the engineer, instruct the clerk to advertise for the replacement of Station Road Culvert 0532. This notice will be published in the Morning Journal on August 9th and 16th, and bids will be open at 2 p.m. on August 23rd in the Commissioners' Public Hearing Room.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Under the sanitary engineer, proceed to construct sanitary sewers, appetances, and upgrades in various Lorain County General Sewer District. 1, number 107, Plum Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant, Columbia Township, and 2, 109 along Overland Road, Amherst Township.
I assume that the audience here is interested in these two projects since we don't usually have such a nice crowd attending our meetings. As you all know, we held public hearings regarding these issues in the fall at Lorain County Community College. We are authorized by Ohio Revised Code and also required to follow a certain procedure in this hearings. And now we have had our hearing and we've closed the hearing. Jerry, would you like to address that for a minute?
Having closed the hearing, the commissioners are certainly, and I assume there are people here that wish to make comment, the commissioners certainly are free to hear those comments, but keep in mind, as far as the official record is concerned, that the hearings have been closed. So should there be any subsequent proceedings regarding the comments that are made from the public at this point in time would not be part of that official record.
Thank you, Jerry. And I see that Wayne Bishop is here together with the county sanitary engineer. Do either of you want to just summarize these proposals?
My name is Wayne Bishop. I'm representing the county sanitary engineer. Can you hear it?
Can you hear me?
Okay, how about this?
That's better.
As the commissioners just explained, we have two projects today. One is Plum Creek. The Plum Creek project is in response to an EPA requirement when we got our MPDS permit updated last time. They had a letter of condition saying that we had to do certain things. We took a look at it as a county sanitary engineer, and we came up with a project. We went ahead and got a cost estimate done on that. The cost estimate is $367,612. What that equates down to, if we figure 50 homes in the subdivision, which are currently connected, that breaks down to $7,352.25 apiece. Now, each person should have received that in the letter, so you know what your tentative assessment is. If the commissioners would choose to go ahead with the project, we do have a $226,070 zero interest loan that would go against that. That project then would need to be bid as soon as possible. Our MPDS, our permit to install the project recently expired. We'll be needing to get an extension on that. We'd like to go ahead and start this project, get it going before the increase in costs. If something would happen, we couldn't do it until next year. So that project right now is $367,612 with an assessment of $73.52 and a quarter. The other project that we're talking about today, commissioners, was
We'd rather just
the,
deal
Yeah,
with
can
one
we
at a
take
time.
one at a time?
Please.
So on the Plum Creek, that's pretty much the story there. EPA wants the revisions made. The plant, which was built back in 1960, is well overdue to be improved. We have to address it. Now's the time to do it.
Can you explain the no-interest loan again, please?
Pardon?
The no-interest loan, can you go over that again?
Yeah, we
Slow-
have
Wayne,
an
a
OP.
little slower.
Okay. What happened is that when we put the project together, we made application for Ohio Public Works Commission, zero interest loan. That loan is $226,070 that was received. That represents $164 savings in interest per year for the property owners. So that was a very important step on this project to get that interest, that loan in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. What is the pleasure of the board?
And how's that, is that paid over how much time? Is that over 20 years?
Yeah, what we do, we estimated over a 20-year payment, a bond over 20 years.
And that's on the tax rolls every
Yeah,
6
the way
months?
it would work is that once the project was bid and built, we would tabulate the total results. If it came in less than this, then the assessment would obviously be less. We could not raise it any above this. And then at that time, the property owners would be given the option of paying off all of that, part of that, or to finance it themselves, however they want to do it. If not, the county would take whatever the remainder was, and they would sell bonds and get a good rate, a good rate that they can get for you, and put that over a 20-year payback period. That would be then come due every year for 20 years.
Once a year or twice a year?
Well, your taxes would come out twice a year, so you pay half of the annual cost every 6 months.
Do you want to hear from the people in the audience?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. I didn't-
Pardon?
We
No, I
would like
didn't-
to hear from the
ahead.
audience,
Okay.
people, residents.
Plum Creek.
Plum Creek we're talking about.
Mr. Carney?
Good morning. I'd just like to add that I've been in discussion with the Columbus, Ohio Public Works. It would be the sanitary engineer's intention to apply for a grant to replace this zero-interest loan. Our deadline is September the 10th of this year. We expect to get response from the Ohio Public Works Commission in Columbus in the spring or generally in late February of next year. So it's my intention to apply for a 50% participation grant equaling $187,000 for this project.
Meaning the residents wouldn't be charged
Half.
for,
The problem,
They-
no, the problem is is this a chicken and egg where you need to have it going before you apply for the grant?
That's true. I'm just like to have you not have, you need to know that. You need to know the knowledge that I will be applying for that for this September 10th. Not to surprise you at all, but it'll be coming forth with the applications
Yeah,
through
we
our
can't-
department.
Okay.
It's
Well,
not a
we
guarantee.
can't make a decision based on that. We have
No,
to make
it's,
it based on
you
everyone
need to
getting
know all the facts, and that's one of them. Thank you.
What would happen is, Commissioners, and I've spoken to council on this because I spoke with Mr. Carney earlier in the week on this, there really doesn't seem to be any prevailing law on lowering the assessments, but there is some issues with raising the assessments. So if during the construction phase of the project, we were able to gain additional resources that lowered the overall cost, well, that would be a benefit to the homeowners, and we would be able to lower their assessments. And what Mr. Carney has indicated to me, he's looking to replace the loan money, even though it's at zero interest, with actually no-cost money to the homeowners, which would be the grant. And we'll have construction notes. We're going to be a long time before we go to bond on this. We'll be in construction notes, so there'll be quite a gap before people see this on their tax duplicate. And we'll have time to make sure that they receive benefit of any additional grant money that comes in.
Thank you, Jim. Dale Rundle, Columbia Township Trustee.
Good morning, Commissioners. We seem to have a little problem in Columbia this morning, and it's called the Plum Creek Sewer Treatment Plant. The main problem is our residents had the meetings at the college like we were supposed to. Then our follow-up meeting, because the meeting hadn't actually adjourned, we wanted to have another session where we could come up with alternate situations that we could handle. And at that time, we, the township and the residents, decided that we would go into a private entity, another alternative, shall we say. At this time, the township did spend monies to contact another engineering firm. This engineering firm, we were planning on getting the results at our second meeting that we were supposed to have that was canceled, and we're still waiting for it. And when we had this notification that we were going to have a meeting, we thought that's what this was. We did not know it was being put on the docket at that time to be voted on. We thought we were going to have the follow-up meeting, and that's why a lot of the people are fairly upset. And you can see spending that much money, because we don't like to say it, but that area of Columbia, the residents are elderly and retired. They can't come up with that $7,000. And as far as the issue 2 grants go, the Ohio Public Works, which we all know, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Carney can update me, but I think we applied for those before and were turned down. Am I right or wrong on that one? I don't know.
We applied for an interest-free loan for $150,000. We have reapplied for $226,000, and we have not applied for a grant at this point.
Thank you, sir. I stand corrected. But I believe the main problem is we need some more time before you vote to see what the alternate system is that has been brought up. We could do it within a timely schedule because it has been sent out to our engineers. The engineers are in the process of doing all the the research, and they're actually going to take the line down to our schools, which is the West River. That's middle of the town. And that's what the feasibility study's doing now. So I would wish
Are
you
you
would.
telling me you're doing a study that's bigger than this project itself?
Yes, we are.
So how are you gonna be able to compare apples to apples?
We're going to break it down in
Okay.
parts.
Okay,
And it would be broken down foot by foot
okay, good.
so that we will know that.
Okay,
But we figured as long as we were spending that much money, we're using all the township's
right.
people's money, we're going to get as much as we can for our bang, and that's what we're doing.
When could you get that done?
I would say 8 weeks, and that's the extreme.
The problem I have, it sounds like we might miss there's a window of opportunity for Ken to get half the money paid for. So instead of costing people $400 a year, it could cost them $200 a year.
Okay, if I'm not mistaken, a low interest, or a zero
I'm not
interest
talking
loan?
about zero interest. I'm just-
What are you talking about, sir?
He's talking about a grant paying for half the sewer. Like I said earlier, I don't want to wait and make a decision on if come, because we might not ever get it, you know?
Right.
And I don't want to make a decision based on that. But
Who is the firm doing the second opinion?
Lorco.
I thought that Columbia Township was not affiliated with Lorco.
They are not at this time. They were asked to come in by the residents of the township. And there are other studies going on that citizens are actually paying for because they wanted it.
Is the GRW doing the study for you?
That's affirmative, Betty.
This is the same company that's doing the study in Carlisle Township.
and they said they could have it done in a couple weeks. That's why I was wondering, 8 weeks, kind of long.
I'll put it this way, they may have it done now, but I don't want to say because I don't know for sure.
That's what they said
Yes.
last week. They said they said the same thing. It might be done now, but we can wait.
I
Could
can
you go,
understand.
could you find out, could we make, could you find out in 2 weeks? Because really, I mean, it
I
sounds like to me.
I will do my best to do it, sir.
No, not you, I'm just saying, Laura. All I'm saying is that it sounds like there's a window of opportunity that the sanitary engineer is trying to work on.
I can
And-
understand that.
And this is something that's been going on since, it looks like since 2000. And, I mean, I don't wanna make a decision based on trying to lose I mean, if we can save the residents $200 a year in taxes, call it what you want, I call it taxes. Sanitary and
you're
sewer
right.
fees, whatever. But, I don't wanna miss that opportunity. Cause I think a 0% loan I'd rather see a grant than a 0% loan.
Yes, because to me, a 0% loan is just
You're
mean
still
you have
buying
20
money.
years to pay it off
That's,
instead.
yeah, but if you get somebody to come
Yeah.
up with half the funds to pay for it, that seems like a better opportunity. Unless, I don't know, Mr. Carney's the one that's advising us that he has to have everything in by September 10th. So I feel that that's the window we have right now is between now and September 10th. And you're telling me you need 2 months, so,
I'm saying 2 months.
I know,
It may not be that long.
okay.
Some of the residents were concerned about flooding.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain that to me, how this project will, I don't know, is it
Okay.
going to cause flooding, or what does this, how is this related to flooding?
Okay. Say every customer is connected into a water supply system, and they use 10,000 gallons a month. Okay, that water, a percentage of that goes into the sewage system. That sewage system, in turn, goes into Plum Creek. And that would add water to our flood basin already. Now, if we had a sewer system that took the water away, all of that water would no longer be in Plum Creek. It would not be, it'd be minimal, but it would be, shall I say, quite a help to get that water out of there. It might save 1/10 of an inch. That 1/10 of an inch could go into people's living rooms.
So is the study with Lorco going to address that issue?
Oh, yes, it does.
Okay. And then also you said that there are a lot of retirees in the area and
Yes.
probably low-income residents also. Ron, the question I guess I would have to ask you, have you contacted these people? Are they eligible for CDBG money or any monies that the county could offer?
We have not contacted the residents direct. We've been out and done a survey of the area and determined the income. While the area is income for sewer and water facility funds through CDBG, frankly, it doesn't meet the last threshold of the amount of their utilities, total utilities that they're paying per household. In other words, the sewer rates they're presently charged by the county are too low, and the percentage of their disposable income does not meet the requirements of the state to receive any funding. But we did check that out.
Okay, thank you. My personal opinion, EPA is forcing this down our throat. EPA should come out here and pay for it. But
I don't think you would have one problem with that, Miss.
anyway, what I was thinking too, I know we did this before with some other sewer projects, Ron, the revolving loan money. Can we help in any way with some of that money?
That's still borrowing money though, isn't it, Ron?
No, we gave it before.
Revolving
If
loan?
they're eligible, they can get it.
Oh.
We don't have to, we haven't been able to get sewer funds from,
Right, we can't get sewer funds. Where we gave the money, the grants were to cities that where jobs were being created, permanent job creation, and I don't think they're gonna meet the criteria there, but.
Hey,
you know,
township
we'll check.
trustees, can you do something?
Yes, we
I
can.
mean, if we can give it to cities, why can't we give it to the townships?
I don't know. I always believed in equal enforcement and equal division, but sometimes in the affairs that it just doesn't work out that way, and I know it's not the commissioner's fault. They have to go by the same rules we do, so.
Why don't you ask the chair? Mr. Cortez?
well, I have a question for Mr. Rundle. We spent a couple years and then quite a bit of money working on a sewer plan for Columbia Township, and I'm a little distressed that we're not involved in this whole thing that's going on out there. Is there any reason for that?
One of the main reasons is, sir, we haven't been involved. At the last meeting, you told us we would be involved. To this date, if Mrs. Yankee wouldn't have been a resident on Plum Creek, the trustees would not even have known about this meeting. And it makes it hard. It makes it hard for us to communicate if we don't know each other's time schedules.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
the Plum Creek was shelved. We sent out letters indicating that it was going to be delayed. Well, the clerk is indicating to me she sent,
I faxed a copy of the letter to the clerk 2 weeks ago.
okay. The only recent activity we've had with regard to Plum Creek is in the last couple of weeks. I'm just really surprised. I mean, we spent a great deal of time and effort working with Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. Quite a bit of money was spent over there, and it appears that you're going a completely different direction with Lorco, and we're not involved. And You know, I had thought that we had something going on out there in Columbia Township, and Mr. Carney's back there. I don't know if he knows anything other than that, but it's just surprising.
Well, if there's been a confusion, sir, I'm sorry. But the thing is, the township and the residents, that at the last meeting we had at the college, that there were, if we had different alterations and things like that we could do, or some other plan we could come up with, that we were supposed to research it. And that's what we did. And it may seem like we're coming in and pushing Lorco or something like that into the way, but that was going to be one of our alternatives at the next meeting that we were supposed to be scheduled, that we didn't get scheduled. So we've actually been inconvenienced too, because
Yes,
we
sure. I
jumped
understand.
into your way.
No, I understand. Was there supposed to be
I
I had a death in the family, and I wasn't able to attend that Plum Creek meeting out at the college, but nobody indicated to me upon my return to the county
Because-
that we were having an additional meeting to discuss additional alternatives. And if we were supposed to, we owe you an apology.
Well, what it was, sir, is the meeting that you did have scheduled was canceled.
But I thought it was a meeting to make a decision on the project. I didn't know we were having another meeting to discuss alternatives. And I'm
One
trying
in
to get to it
March?
with the clerk here to see
Right.
what
One
we...
in March?
Yes.
Is that the one in March?
Yes.
At that time, it was supposed to be decision on the sewer by the board, and that was postponed.
So it was a decision
It was a
meeting.
decision meeting, yes.
Now,
Okay.
was-
When were we supposed to have the other meeting after? Because we all left the community college with the understanding we were going to have another meeting.
Mr. Carney, Mr. Bishop?
You know, I think we do have minutes of the meeting. I don't remember anything personally about another meeting, another public meeting to discuss. This is a decision meeting as far as I know. Now, you have minutes there, you can look at them, but the purpose of the meeting was very specific, and it was spelled out when we had the meeting at the college, and
Decision.
I don't remember any such thing. This has been quite a while ago, and, you know, the office has been open for information. I just, you know, if the information is there, you know, we need to look at it.
Are those the minutes from the meeting at the college?
These are the minutes.
Is there anything in there to indicate that there was going to be a subsequent meeting? Well, also, was a statement made that the meeting wasn't adjourned or closed. I heard that in the beginning of the discussion. I think that's an important legal aspect, Jerry, that needs to be addressed, because
This
it was
meeting
said here,
was
right?
concluded, the public hearing was concluded at 9:14 PM on September 16, 2003.
Because I did hear earlier, I'm not sure who said it, that the meeting wasn't closed, that there was going to be a second one. So do we have a legal issue?
Oh, no, I'm asking Teresa, was it closed?
This meeting was concluded. Commissioner Blair moved, second by Vacy, to conclude the public hearing at 9:14 PM.
Is that the
All
one at the
voted yea, you
college?
were absent that day, yes.
The one at the college?
On September 16th at the college in room 214 and 215 in the Spitzer Conference Center.
Okay, we had so many that night that some were held over and some were,
I think we only had the one, didn't you? Because I attended the ones on
I mean,
Monday
they
and
were-
Wednesday, but
I don't have my.
my wife turned 40 that day and I couldn't miss that one. I'd be in bigger trouble
Oh, she's
than
going to
you
be real
guys,
happy
so.
with you.
On television, we're going to hear that.
Again?
Mr. Cortez,
Yes, sir.
I'm the one that said that the meeting was carried over.
Okay. I
Now-
just wanted to make sure we were legally in
Yeah.
compliance.
Now, when I said carried over, my impression was that that was not the end, that we were going to have another meeting. That is my meeting, or that's my idea of
Okay.
carryover.
But
It
that-
wasn't, that particular meeting was ended,
That was
but we
the
were
end
going
of
to have
the
another.
public hearing, and that
Right.
there would be another meeting scheduled in which a decision would be rendered.
Right, when we could come up with other options.
Oh,
We,
no,
I'm saying
I don't
city.
think so.
Because we'll have the same thing when we get to the Riverview project, because they have alternative methods with different type of sewer systems and things like that they can use on that one. And I was under the impression that Plum Creek had the same thing.
My name's Carol Leitner from the Plum Creek #1 plot, and in my notes from that meeting at the college, I wrote down that we would get notice about another meeting regarding this problem if we objected to what was being discussed.
Which is what transpired.
So we never had another meeting.
Let me,
And they did send in letters of objection.
right, let me explain.
Yeah,
The-
and
the-
the meeting we were supposed to have was canceled, like he said, and that's been it.
The law states that a public hearing for public comment and discussion has to take place. And those meetings took place. The next step after the meeting is concluded and closed is a period of time for homeowners to raise objections to the project, which you're very accurate in what you're saying. After the period of time for the objections to be filed is made, the law requires the Board of Commissioners that thereafter notify the residents that have objected of the date and time of the decision whether to move the project or not move the project ahead. Normally, what we've done is we've sent letters to everybody affected by the project, just not those people that object to the project, so that everybody is notified about the date and time of the decision. There may be some confusion in the terminology there, but once again, the proper sequence of events have occurred. There may have been some conjecture that there was going to be another public meeting, or it may have been misunderstood what the notification was going to be to do, but the notification was for a date and time of decision.
No, we were told at that meeting that this was going to be, because we were all going to check out different options, like Mr. Rundle said, including the trustees, but that we were going to have a second meeting to discuss our options that we've discovered.
Can I ask for just for some clarity, and I'm not trying to question you, but who said that? Do you recall? I know there was a lot of people there, ma'am.
Yeah, I didn't get the
But-
name of the person exactly, but I've got their names all listed here. So, one of them did say that. So, that's my story. And I'm sticking to it.
I'm Francis Cox, 15045 Plum Creek Drive. And we did have a letter saying we had a meeting in March. I came home from Georgia just to make that meeting, and it was canceled out. March or April.
Yeah, we're not disputing the letter in March, sir. The original letters were sent out when the item was agended in mid-March for a decision. The Board of Commissioners at that time had some other projects they were also going to make a decision on, and it was thought at that time to wait on moving ahead with these projects. So a subsequent letter to that was sent out indicating that those meetings were not going to take place, and that the residents would be notified in the future should the issue be agended again.
I think here's where it's coming from, Jim. Mr. Bishop said all objection letters should be individualized and submitted. These residents will be notified if and when another hearing will be set. I think that's where
And
it's
they
coming
had the
from.
meeting set before I left here to go to Georgia. I had the letter in my hand, and I filed a complaint against it, and that's why I got the letter. From
Mr.
my
Bishop?
understanding.
But I think what happened was maybe Betty and I didn't understand, and we concluded the meeting.
No, I think I understood quite clearly that there needed to be an end to it so that we could move on to the next step.
Because I thought we were going to have another hearing too, because I believe that some of the residents were going to check into whether or not they were eligible for additional funding or any other kind of funding, and we were going to look into whether there was any other grants available.
We were also supposed to look into on the person that owns a lot more lots on this street.
Right.
If he was going to pay into it.
Yes.
And everything else.
That's right.
Thank you.
Mr. Bishop, had you checked that?
What, the minutes?
No.
The additional lots that.
Yeah, we looked into it, there's so many lots on the south side there, and if the people would build a sewer and choose to connect to the sewer, then they would have to pay their fair share. And we, is it going to be, the board will have to make a determination, what percentage of the cost would be reimbursed back to the people if, and what would happen. But
Wayne-
yes, we wouldn't let anybody connect for nothing, yeah.
Well, but this gentleman asked that question, or somebody did. How did they get their answer? Obviously, there was some questions asked. They sound to be, valid questions.
Was this a question at the meeting,
Well,
at the
apparently
college?
so. Apparently
in front of
so.
public?
And,
Yeah.
There was an answer given at the public meeting. We would look into it, is probably what was said.
I understand by a matter of law
Yeah.
that we don't have to answer people that object to the sewer. But at the public hearing, if a question's raised and there's not an answer at that point to be able to be given, I think as a matter of courtesy, that we should at least communicate back to the person asking the question, the answer to that question. And I'm not sure that gentleman ever received an answer to his question.
Yeah, I can't say that I did, what the response was proper. I'd have to go back and look at the minutes and see. I don't particularly remember a person asking that question.
Well,
I
with my-
remember discussing it in the office afterwards, and I know there were some letters that were sent back and forth and some telephone calls between the public and the sanitary engineer's office, and we did have discussions. Now, I don't know if that person got a proper answer over the phone, or if that person got a written response. I'm pretty sure they probably did not get a written response, but I know there has been responses to questions that's been submitted or asked over the phone. And regarding that question, it's very basic. These people have not chosen to connect to the system, and they have not requested to connect to the system. Therefore, there is no project south of what we have today.
My notes indicate, okay, here's another thing, too. There was 27 of the 31 lots that are up for sale and are buildable. That came up at that meeting.
Yes, ma'am. That was, somebody made a comment to that they thought 27 of the 31 or whatever. These are just adjacent property abutting against a system that's built today. If they don't develop those lots and they don't connect, then they don't affect your project today. We have not received any request to connect these people or any set of plans to review or anything like that. I can tell you that if they do come to you and they want to connect, they will have to pay their share of the cost.
My question to you was,
Yeah.
that night at the hearing, did we know that answer, or did we have to go back and look and then provide that answer to somebody? Because I got to tell you, while I want to move forward with these projects, if I was sitting out there and I had a question, and somebody said I was going to get an answer to it and I didn't, I'd be pretty upset too.
Well, does the minutes say that we will provide an answer?
Yeah, what I have here, from what I've reviewed, there's 3 residents that asked questions that you said you would look into.
Yeah,
Now, what that means, let me give an example. Francis Cox said that, I want to know that there's no sewers about the last 2 houses on 82. Mr. Bishop said an easement could have been obtained to get the sewers. He will look into the issue. That was one. Let's see. There's another. All I had to do is take a look at your last. No, I'm just saying that's what's on the minutes. I'm just saying what was on the minutes. Okay. Let me read it.
We didn't know the answer that
No.
evening, that's all.
Yeah, these are
Commissioner wants to
questions,
say.
let me go back and see, let me reread this. Francis Cox and the address, said no sewers abut the last 2 houses on State Route 82 East. Mr. Bishop said an easement could have been obtained to get to those sewers. He will look into the issue. That's an unanswered question. as
yeah,
far as
what
I'm
that
concerned.
was, that has
I'm
nothing
just
to
telling you,
do.
no, before you interrupt, I just want to say, since we're talking about unanswered questions, I saw 3 just in the minutes, okay?
Yeah.
And that was, I didn't know if that would tie in with, if that's not a true statement, sir, then tell us.
Yeah, I think there's a little misunderstanding about the location and exactly what the minutes say. This is regarding up on the north side on State Route 82, where Plum Creek comes out. There was a couple houses on east of that, and there was a problem with sewers running behind houses to connect houses. We have, exactly, no idea, and as far as we know, it was probably, when the house was built, there was an understanding between the builder and the property owner beside that to allow them to come through behind their property or something.
What amount to base
Mhm.
afterthought.
The-
Yeah.
And that's
But-
what we
but
said,
the-
because
the-
we had a problem with the
Yeah.
backup.
Yeah, see, now that
And
problem,
they could not find where it came from, the house. Where does that leave us if
Right.
we have a problem?
Right.
And then wanting this type of money?
And
From
there's
us.
4 homes up on 82 there that if you bring other sewage lines down 82,
mhm.
what are we gonna be socked with across our property
Yeah.
cost again?
Okay, let me back up a minute, maybe I can clarify it a little bit. The project we're talking about is down at the sewer plant. It has nothing to do with sewers, and I understand that there's problems with sewers, there's problems with storm sewers, everything out there, and there's answers that need to be done. The only thing we can tell you is that if you're connected to the wastewater plant and we do repairs at the wastewater plant, then everybody has to pay their fair share. So I understand that there was a question that came about, and that's the one, Commissioner Moore, you mentioned about up at State Route 82. That is not really the sewer south, additional lots south. We're talking about existing people which are connected up on State Route 82. There's a problem with their connecting sewers, coming from their houses, getting out to the street. There's a misunderstanding where the sewers are at. I know these are problems that need to be worked out, but it really doesn't have anything to do with the project. It has nothing to do with the assessments, and we would like to address that. And so what I told the people at the meeting, that we would, if we had any information about where that sewer was, or how it was connected, or if there's anything that we could shed on that.
For this for 15 years.
Yeah, I know.
But
And-
Wayne, just for a moment. My concern,
That's why we need another
Let-
meeting of this.
let me be specific. My concern is, I recognize that sometimes people ask questions, and the questions are answered, and they don't agree with the answer. That's going to occur, but at least the question's been answered. But
Right.
anytime somebody asks a question and we don't have an answer, or we're going to get back to them with information, I think there's a reasonable assumption upon those people's part that we're going to do that. And I don't know why we're not.
Yeah, I think that, not to be, unconcerning about this or anything, I agree that
I don't
they
want to
asked-
placate people at these meetings and
Yeah.
then ignore them thereafter before we make
Yeah,
a decision.
like I say, we had telephone calls afterwards with people. We talked to people about different things out there in that area. I thought the questions were relatively answered. And if we come up with some information, I'm more than happy to give it to you. If you can basically, if I've missed you and I've missed a question that needs to be answered, give me your name and I'll talk to you about it, and we'll try to look into it.
But this was said when we were here for the
Yeah.
last meeting, and we have not heard from you.
Yeah.
You did not send any
I
letter.
apologize. Forgive me for not getting back with you.
And I'm sure.
Things happen.
I
Yeah.
understand that. I realize you're very busy, but this is our project, and we
Mhm.
are concerned.
Yeah.
Ma'am, if you have a specific question that we haven't answered, anybody has a specific question on Plum Creek that hasn't been answered, we owe you an answer. You may not agree with the answer,
I
but we owe you an
understand
answer.
that, and I can accept that. But, you just can't ignore our questions as you have stated.
Okay. What I'll do, I'll go back and I'll look at the minutes and I'll try to come up with these people have questions that weren't answered or properly answered, and we'll try to answer those questions for you. I'll try to, if you gave your name at the meeting and we have a record of who asked the question so that we can make an answer, I'll do my best to get an answer to you, okay? Yeah. Right now, like I say, we're not dealing with sewers up on 82, we're dealing with a wastewater plant, and, it's not that we're trying to avoid these kind of questions.
Then what happens when they come down 82? Are we going to be required then to hook up from the 82 project after we have paid this type of money?
I don't believe so. I believe that if you're connected to a wastewater system, they cannot make you disconnect and connect to a new one. This is a municipal system that you're connected to. It's not a private
But
system.
they're not going to ignore the 4 homes that
They're not
are
gonna
on
bypass
82
us.
and put this type of money for sewage and say, okay, guys, we like you, we're going to
You
do
see,
that.
and ma'am, that's kind of what happens sometimes with questions and answers. I think Mr. Bishop has given you the only reasonable answer he has, but you want to debate his answer. My concern,
No, maybe I wanted a guarantee that says, no, you're paying for this, so but you will not have to do.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
down
if we
82.
had the
You
ability to
can't give
project it that far into the future, there'd be a lot of things that, we would know that we don't know today.
Excuse me, Jim, but I think when somebody's speaking, they have to come up to the podium so that they can use the mic so everyone can hear them and so that Hal can get them on the camera, since we are
Why don't you meet with
televised.
me after the meeting, and I'll get your name and number. If I can get an answer for you on that, I will. And I'll do my best to do that. Now, I understand there's a lot of questions, a lot of people, and sometimes I have to be reminded. But I apologize if I didn't get back with you on your specific question. Okay?
Oh, well, I don't think
But just to reiterate, that doesn't mean that you're going to agree with his answer, but at least you deserve an answer. Okay, ma'am, thank you.
I have a suggestion to make. Dale Rundle asked for a continuation until they got some information, and the clerk has her calendar here, and we have nothing officially scheduled for September 16th. So would it be agreeable if we would continue this subject? Not, because this is not a public hearing, we've already had the public hearing, but we could continue discussion on this subject for September 16th.
I'd rather, we have a September 10th deadline that Mr. Carney has made. That I don't want to lose a grant, I don't want to lose any grant money. That's all I'm worried about is if we could get if we can get more money to help pay for this project, I don't want to miss the window of opportunity, that's all.
Well, I totally agree with you, Commissioner Moore. If there's $187,000 out there, we're going to get it.
I know, but I'd rather not wait till after the September 10th. I'd rather, if we're gonna have a meeting, I'd rather have it in the evening, since everybody came in probably took time off of work, and I'd rather have it, since it's obviously a communication issue, I think we should be a little bit more accommodating, and but my concern is the September 10th deadline, that's all, because I don't want to be responsible for, if we do end up supporting this project, and we could have got 0% loans, hey, I'd rather see a grant than a 0% loan.
Definitely,
So-
definitely. Our office is always available before that.
Well, what is the time frame for submitting an application and getting it approved? When-
Submission of the application September 10th, 4 p.m. in my office.
And,
Then after that, we meet with each individual applicant throughout Lorain County in the month of October, finalize in the month of November, submit to Columbus January 1st. Get a result sometime in February or March.
I mean, we're meeting on September 9th on other sewer issues during the morning. I don't know if it would be nice to have a 5 o'clock.
It would be too late on the 9th.
No, because we have till 4 o'clock on the 10th.
Would that press you? Would you be able to get your paperwork in order?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, I would agree to an evening meeting. I think that would be more
Well,
convenient.
I don't know who's speaking on behalf of the group, but I don't know if that would be more appropriate, or you guys would rather come in the morning.
it looks to me
What?
like we have a full house that came in the morning.
I know, but that's,
Evening would be fine. Evenings would be a lot better today.
you came in today in the morning, and I appreciate that. I know everyone takes a lot of time out of their day to do this, so. And it sounds like there's some communication issues. I think it'd be appropriate for us to have an evening meeting since you guys came in.
There was one other issue that was brought up at that other meeting. Is Barbara Retigliano here?
Now, Barbara Tigliano is our counsel from
She's-
Boyers.
That's right,
But we
too.
can make sure she shows up.
Anyway, she was supposed to be checking into Sarah Title III, and that's EPA regulation, that the originator of the problem is responsible for the cost of the repair. And that was for a city, and I remember us talking about that. I don't remember getting a reply from Barbara, though.
Nor do I, Commissioner. So we
Depends
have
on
a...
what the definition of originator is.
Right, we have some questions that need to be answered, and I'll get you an answer for that. I'll take that for action, okay?
Okay.
And anybody that has a question or had a question that was unanswered, please see Mr. Bishop. Stand up, Mr. Bishop, once again, okay? Again, I don't mean to be contrary. He'll try to give you an answer. Whether we agree or disagree on the answer is one thing, but you deserve an answer if anything is outstanding. So, Wayne, would you please make sure they know how to get a hold of you, how to contact you, and vice versa, please?
But I also think we deserve these people a decision on the 9th, one way or the other.
Yes, sir.
I don't think we should put,
I
I'm just
agree.
letting you know, I think we need to, we're not gonna push this off. We pushed off the other sewer, so what we're gonna do is we are gonna vote on the 9th. That's my understanding.
What do we have on the 9th, though?
In the morning, we have access management public hearing, and then we also have the decision on the sewer 108.
East
We're
River.
talking about maybe an evening meeting,
I know, 108 project.
like a 5 o'clock.
Well, but those have already been scheduled.
Right,
Correct,
For
that's in the
morning.
morning.
right.
I'm not sure what difference does it make if we meet on the 9th or the 16th?
Well,
He's
the
going
16th
to
is the
fi-
10th. He has to have we have to have our vote,
Pardon me?
and we have to meet before September 10th because of the grant money that's available out there. He has till 4 o'clock on September 10th to submit the application. We have to vote on it before the 10th in order for him to get the 182,000.
We have to vote on this application, Mr. Carney?
Ken?
Mr. Carney? Do
Ken.
the commissioners have to vote on your application that you will be submitting?
No votes is required by the commissioners. It's an application
He just has
procedure.
to apply before.
No votes required by the commissioners to submit an application.
So therefore, we can meet
we can meet
on the 16th.
The question, Ken, question isn't, do they vote on your application? Do they need to vote on the project for you to submit the application?
Not legally, no. No, not at all. We have many applications filed in my office.
So you can go ahead and do the application, and this matter can continue pending, and then if they vote it down, you can just withdraw the application.
That's correct.
Wow, jeez.
Okay, so we can meet on the 16th.
Well, shoot, why even meet till we find out if you got it? I mean,
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Why even meet? If you can get $182,000, how long will it take to find out about the 182?
I just
Till
said,
January? Was it January?
when I first came up to the
Okay,
phone
so it's
microphone,
January?
I explained that
Okay.
everyone needed to know that there was a possibility of a 50% grant out there, and the application would have taken place September the 10th, and the results would be in the spring of 2005.
Well, I think David's next question is, why can't we wait till we find out?
And the question is?
Go ahead, Jerry's reading my mind. That's what lawyers do.
He was saying, why can't we wait till we see if we're going to get the grant before we approve the project?
There's a couple answers to that. A couple answers to that is that our assessments are growing stale, our engineering cost data is growing stale, and we're going to have to redo that work in the spring if we don't move forward now. Now, while I think everybody's questions should be answered here, I think everybody should get a fair amount of time to be heard on these projects before a decision's made. I don't think that we should have to go back and spend how much money we spent on engineering again and everything else that's going to transpire again in the spring. As I indicated when we opened the discussions, the applying for the grant would lower an assessment, which we can do. It won't increase it. So moving forward with the project and applying for the grant, if the grant comes through, the assessments are lower. So you have a worst-case scenario and you have a hoped-for best-case scenario. And you don't need to wait. The project doesn't change if grant money comes in the spring. It's the same project, although it costs more in the spring because work is going to have to be redone in the spring. Correct, Mr. Carney?
Exactly. And this meeting is a meeting to proceed or not.
Are you saying that there's no reason for us to meet again in September?
There is, I believe that the residents should be given an opportunity to have their questions answered if they weren't answered at the prior, if they was told that they would be answered at the prior meeting. You do need to make a decision on this project. The decision could be yes, the decision could be no, the decision could be to place it on hold. Those are the three options available, Counselor?
That's correct, but as Mr. Cordes said, the longer you hold it, the more likelihood that the information becomes stale. And
Right, now we can get an I heard Mr. Bishop say that our permit to proceed has already expired. I understand we can get a short extension to that, or an extension to it, right? So we're already running into timeliness issues.
Yeah, the way it worked is that the permit expired in March. Now, obviously, you should apply for an extension before the permit runs out, depending upon, when do you think you're going to be able to proceed with the project. The EPA would like to see us go in March. We will make application for
a 6-month extension. That's normally what they will grant. So you can see we're right up against it here. If not, we just apply, we pay a new permit fee, and we add it to the assessment, and it creates more problems for
How
everybody.
much is a new permit fee?
It's 400 plus 0.65% of the construction.
Plus
So-
1.65%?
Yeah. So if you figure $367,000 project times .0065 plus 200.
I don't know if I got the right zeros or not. $2,800 or 28,000? What do you think?
Well, 10% would be 36,000, so .6 would be 18. You're talking in the neighborhood of $2,600.
Yeah, well, for $2,000, I don't see why we should even meet until January. So that's, I mean, you're
Yeah,
talking about.
it's just an additional cost.
I mean, why not? I mean, I don't understand, well, why even meet if you're not, I mean, we can get the answers, you can get the questions answered.
Right.
We have a meeting to discuss the unanswered questions. And with every sewer hearing we've ever had, I felt that, this is something that's been going on for almost 5 years since EPA kind of came down on you guys. So, if we can get half the money paid for, what's that?
We weren't told until just last year about this.
How about the EPA?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of answer. Well, what happens, actually, every 5 years, your permit runs out, and you have to renew it, and they always have a list of conditions. They're usually minor.
even
The
have-
sanitary engineers believe that they can absorb that into the cost, in the normal operation cost.
Right now.
What happens is when a plant runs out, and you get findings and orders that the plant isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. And that's what's happened. We're doing a little bit more over and above the normal.
We should have been told back then,
Yeah.
though, that it was declining. We could have prepared some for this.
Yeah, it's, unfortunately, if we would have built the improvements 10 years ago, you could have saved a lot of money, but you would have paid that money back then. We've been trying to make do with the best we have. We've been trying to fix up and keep going what we've got. Now we're to a point where EPA is taking a pretty bold stance, and they've told us to go with what they call tertiary treatment and post-chlorination and aeration. It makes it a little tougher for us.
Carolyn, can you come to the microphone, please? Thank you.
My name is Carolyn Yankee. I'm a Columbia Township trustee. Would it be possible to have one more meeting, maybe at our fire station, where the people could come, have their questions answered? And it's a local place. A lot of people work. They can't take off work because they can't afford it. They can't afford the $7,500 that it's going to cost us. I personally know a lot of the people that live on Plum Creek. I live on Plum Creek. They're retired. They're very proud people, and they would give up things just to pay this assessment. And it shouldn't be that way. There should be grant money for these people. And I know with the CBG grant, they took the medium income of Columbia of $58,000, and there's no way the people on our street make that kind of money.
No,
You
that sounds like a valid, I mean, I don't see a problem with having one more meeting at the fire station. Not a
Okay, and
problem
at
with that.
night, and we will
You
put
know,
it on our
but
TV.
I don't think we'll make an agenda. I don't think we'll vote that night. I think it's
Okay.
just to take information.
I think if you let the people speak.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, we would get all the people there, we would notify them. Then if, whatever your decision is, they can't say that they were not heard.
Correct, and that's the last thing we want. so.
Okay? Thank you.
Madam President, I would move to request an extension for the permit and to hold a meeting at the Township Trustees location. Is August the 16th okay?
What night, is that a Thursday?
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday,
Well, Betty suggested, didn't you say the 16th?
September.
Oh, September?
Yeah, I said September 16th.
Mary Jo, did you say August or September?
No, we're still discussing
We're
which day.
still talking about a date here.
When's
that
your-
fair,
When's your next trustee meeting that night?
16. We're the first and third Mondays of every month.
First and third?
Well, this is a third Monday. The 16th, August 16th.
Yeah, because all we're gonna do is hear public comment, and we're not gonna make a
That
decision.
would be our trustees meeting.
Right. Would that be
our
okay?
Third meeting.
No. I'd prefer not to.
We could go to the 19th, Thursday night, if that'd be better for you.
The 19th?
Yeah.
That works for
Or
me.
18th. We're flexible.
August 18th works for me. Wednesday night. We can all bond the night before we meet for Thursday morning.
Okay, August 18th is satisfactory with
I'm just saying,
everyone?
that's a Wednesday night.
It's on a
night.
Wednesday.
I'd rather do a Wednesday night than a Thursday.
What time?
Okay.
What time? 7 o'clock sound okay? 6 o'clock?
7 o'clock sounds fine with me. The last one was 7:30.
Well, even 6 if they have children. They may be in school.
That's
Commissioners, just so you know that council and myself will be in Columbus negotiating potential settlements to local government disputes.
Oh,
Let's not go there
on
right
the,
now.
on the
Let's
18th?
not go there right now.
I just wanted to let you know that
On the 18th, you'll
right,
be
we
out?
should be back, but
The only issue on the 18th is we're going to be taking just input from the residents. I think from what we heard today, wow.
But we might want
We're
Jerry
not
there.
gonna, yeah, wow, we're not gonna make a decision, so, I know I won't, so,
Can we change that to the 19th?
that's a Thursday,
Yeah.
it's a long day. That's fine with me, 18th, 16th,
19th?
18th, and 19th is fine with me, but it's up to the, these guys are the
Pardon
ones,
me?
it's their building, I mean,
August 19th would be fine at our fire station.
what's wrong with the
The
18th? Oh, okay.
School starts.
Yeah, you're right, it does, doesn't it?
Is the 19th better? Do we have anything scheduled that day?
There is nothing that
She
morning
can't
at
be
all.
there. We won't have a-
Oh, because you're not available?
Not that night.
How about Wednesday?
Well,
Wednesday,
we can
okay?
send you.
Wednesday, they're not going to be here.
we should be back with 7.
If we say 7, should be
Yeah, I
back.
mean, if you're doing it like 7, we should be back. I didn't know whether you were going to go like 5 o'clock or something.
No,
Okay,
how about Wednesday, the 18th?
7 o'clock.
We're not gonna do we have to publish anything, Jerry? Because I think everybody's here.
We'll have to send
We'll let the
notices
township
out
trustees be
again.
responsible for notifying everybody. How's that? Is that fair?
We'll put it on TV as soon as we get home.
Okay. As August 18th,
August
All
18th.
residents will be have to notified again?
nope.
By
According to
letter?
Rick, 'cause we're not doing this isn't a public hearing. We've already closed the public hearing, so.
Just a discussion.
It's just a discussion meeting. It's up to the trustees to notify the residents, not the commissioners, okay? We are clear with this, okay?
Time?
7
7.
PM on the 18th. Do we need a resolution, commissioners, or we
Yes,
just?
no.
I've
Mr. Vacy
moved on
made
it.
The motion. Are you seconding it?
For what, August
My
18th?
motion was to
extend
request,
the permit.
the motion is to request an extension for the permit, to extend the permit, and to meet at the township trustees, township hall or fire station, wherever they meet, on August the 18th at 7 PM.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Wood?
Aye.
Okay, now,
You're all aware of that date now, so we can move to the next sewer project. You got that date, Wayne?
Is it at the fire station?
Yes.
It is at the fire station.
we take because they're gonna
No.
empty out, they're gonna empty out.
Okay, if anybody wants to leave and I'm still here on this other meeting, my telephone number, I have 2 of them for you.
There we go.
One is 440-323-9608. 440-323-9608. The other one is 419-525-0093. 419-525-0093.
Thank you, Wayne. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We will be right back. With the second portion of the sanitary engineers item. Wayne, did you want to outline this project, please?
Okay, our next project is the Oberlin Road lateral project. Give you some quick facts on that. As you know, the people on Oberlin Road's been connecting slowly over the years since the big sewer was put in. Unfortunately, the sewer did not have risers that were brought up to the street level so that the property owners could easily tap onto them and take off. They didn't extend any laterals back to the right-of-way. So what the county engineer's office, we've been experiencing a very large increase in the price of these laterals over the last few years. I've got some estimates here, and some projects been put in as high as $12,000, $15,000 to run a lateral. The lowest I see is somewhere around 4,600, which was basically a no-brainer on the short side of the road in very shallow Maine. And to make a long story short, the county engineers felt that if the people are going to be required to connect to this sewer, was there any way that he could lower the cost and make it more affordable and cheaper for the public? To back up quickly on the actions, I know the health department sent letters out back in November of '02, ordering certain people to connect, and there's been discussions that even the people on the west side of the road is going to have to connect if this project doesn't get going soon. I know that there was a letter sent out in November, or excuse me, in March of '03, where the commissioners dropped the order to connect on the east side pending the completion of this project. So if this project doesn't go, we honestly believe that the health department's going to go ahead and do what they told us they'd do, and that is require everybody connect as soon as possible. Right now, if we can do anything, if the county engineer felt if he could do anything to lower the cost for everybody and level the cost out so that one person wasn't paying $4,000 and one person wasn't paying $20,000, that would be better for the public. The project that we propose is just basically hire a big-time contractor to come in that's set up to do bores, to do dewatering, to dig down in the sand, and connect to this sewer and get it back up to a decent level and get it to the right-of-way line so that you can connect when you have to. We're not saying you have to connect to it. We're saying we'll bring the sewer back to the right-of-way line and make it affordable for you on an equal basis for everybody. The project right now is $325,457. The assessable cost for the project is roughly the assessment is $52,1819. Now, what that tells you is that we have 80 properties or 80 taps that we're talking about out in that area. We divided it up equally among the 80 people. And if the project goes, we're talking a cost of roughly $450 a year if you put it on your property taxes. If you decide not to pay any of it off, same story with the other project. But like I say, this is an offer that the county engineers put together to try to make it cheaper for everybody on the whole. We feel the health department's going to mandate that you connect soon, and this is going to make it a little bit easier for you guys. We don't have an EPA permit. It's not required for this project, so we saved you money that way. We just did a set of plans. We plan on bidding it out as soon as possible and going ahead and getting those prices and see if those prices are affordable.
Wayne, excuse me, Madam President, I have one very important question. How many of those sewers are now, the septic systems are now working in good condition?
The health department, obviously I can't speak for the health department, but they've told us at the public hearing that a majority of them has failed and that that's the story.
Excuse me, they may have said that, but did they give you any proof, anything in writing?
No, I've not seen that personally, but like I say, this project is driven by orders from the health department. It's not the county commissioners, it's not the county engineer that's driving this project. We're trying to do something that would make it cheaper for you if, in fact, the health department does mandate that you connect. Yes.
What is this if? My understanding is that the health department were issued letters on State Route 58 and thereafter issued letters on Oberlin Avenue requiring tapping. So I don't think there's an if here. And if there's an if, we got another question. Now, the understanding we went into this thing is that the health department was requiring tap-in on Oberlin Road. We either did a project, and I spoke to Mr. Pierce and Mr. Carasy myself, we either did a project, or they were taking the homeowners to court, and they were going to get a court order requiring them to tap in. Is that not accurate?
I believe you're right.
So let's
The
talk
letter I
indefinite, but
saw.
now let's not say ifs. Let's talk indefinite here, because that's what I was told.
Okay. That's what you were told. I have no reason to not believe that, and I believe you're right, Jim. The question that, the reason I said if is that I did see a letter saying that they would not require those connections pending the outcome of this project. So,
Correct. It was,
Yeah.
that's what they told us. We either do a project or we're moving forward.
Yes.
And then we all got together and started working on the project. Absent this project, it's litigation. And that was the understanding. Whether you doubt me or not, you were at those same meetings I was at.
Right.
So it's either a yes or no. There's no ifs.
As far as I'm concerned, it's an abuse of power. If those septic systems are working, who in God's name is the Health Department or EPA to come in here and tell us what to do on our property? I mean, you're talking, okay, $450 a year, that's an additional $225 a half on the taxes. Taxes already increased, and there's no jobs, or there's jobs, but not enough to go around in this county. What are these people supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? This is still America. We have rights. Those are our properties, but yet government, or our representatives, we're the government, but our representatives keep coming in and imposing on our rights and our properties.
Right.
And now we're calling them privileges. When before, as a Constitution that I remember, it's a right, not a privilege. It's a right to own your property and to do what you want on your property, and not to be told when and how and where. But, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm just frustrated with the whole thing, and sewers is a big issue. And as far as I'm concerned, EPA and the Health Department just keep imposing and abusing their power with us.
Well, in all honesty, the Health Department is answering the call from the EPA.
Between the two of them.
Yeah, we are at a crossroads now where we've been told what we have to do, and we're trying to lower the price for everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they put us on the spot.
Yeah. So that's
Well,
the
we're part of
story.
the
That's pretty much
project.
the.
Going on for quite a while, Commissioner. We became involved in this because a property owner came in because of correspondence.
No, I remember the meeting. 'Cause
Okay.
What we had is we actually had somebody that couldn't sell their home, right?
Well, that was East River.
Yeah, oh, that was East River one?
Right.
Okay.
But there was an individual that had an issue with installing a sanitary with the home. And they came in and brought the issue to the attention. And then the Health Department indicated they were going to require tap-in, as they were on State Route 58. They were going to require the tap-in and litigate these tap-ins. And we said, wait a minute, let's see if we can't bundle this rather than individually. If they individually litigate, people individually tap in, the costs are going to be pretty huge. And that's where this project came from. The sewer was installed many years ago, and the laterals were not installed with the sewer at that time. I can't respond for the EPA or the Health Department. I'm not going to defend them.
Yeah,
I
it's
just know what
either
they told
or.
us. I just know
Either
what they
do
told
what we
us.
say or.
So what you got is a bunch of homeowners that, according to the health department, can't transfer your property. That's what we were told. And now they're giving us a window of opportunity that you may transfer and sell your property, but you have to notify the new owners that you have to tap into a sewer. That's the last correspondent I have.
What their intentions are, because they're litigating right now on State Route 58, their intentions are requiring the tap-in. If we don't do a sewer project, and this project isn't moved forward, the next correspondence, after the one saying we're not moving forward, they will receive, and I don't know how long thereafter, will be a letter from the Health Department telling them to tap in. Mr. Carney, can you help me out here? Is this your understanding of the issue also?
Yes, it is, Mr. Cortez. That's exactly the situation as we face it. And the reason for this design, and what we've worked on was to stop that legal action by bringing a reduced price to the affected property owners, and a fair reduced price. And as you know, presently, anyone that taps into that line, it could be forced or voluntarily taps into line, will be and shall be charged $53.50. And we've determined that if all these are built at the same time with one contractor, then we'll probably expecting that price to be $200 less.
No, I remember this meeting, because I think it took me a half hour to get this number. I came up with $9,535 to install to do the sewer, which was, I got all the, I can't even read some of my writing
What
here.
I have
But
too.
I got about 90, I came up with the numbers because the construction costs, the 5218, which you just mentioned, the 225, I think I got cap fee at 225 and 200, $40 permit and $2,000 connect. So I came up with 9535 as the actual number, and for each homeowner. Because I remember we were working on that, remember? That took me a while. I don't know if anybody was at that meeting, but...
That's what I have too.
Well, what, I think what
So-
Mr.
No,
Con...
let me continue
sorry,
with that thought. Okay, so we can talk about, landowner rights and all that, but the fact of the matter is, this is my interpretation, and the two of you can say if I'm right or wrong, but it sounds like to me that the 80 people that live on this street, on a sewer that's been there since 1988, and you're being sued. And that's my understanding from the health department to tap in. Okay, now we can either all work, 80 people can work together and do it cheap, or they can do it individually with each lawsuit. So is that a correct statement? I mean, the problem I had was that and the cost, which I finally at least got that number, so.
Madam
Is that-
Chair.
no, no, is that
First
the-
statement you made is correct, David.
Okay. You
Madam-
disagree with my dollar amount? Oh, okay.
Madam Chair, not to interrupt you, but can we have a show of hands from the residents who would like it and those that do not want it?
Well, you don't even know who's here and who isn't.
Well, who's here from
Oberlin Road.
Oberlin Road?
How many people are here? You have 80 homeowners and you have.
Can you
1,
stand
2,
up, please?
3. Middle Ridge? That's right, Middle Ridge and Oberlin. Okay, it's called the Oberlin, I'm sorry, it's the Oberlin Road Sewer District, that's what they call it, so. Yeah, so we got 1, 2, yeah, but we don't,
Okay, can we have a show of hands, please? Those that are for it.
well, no, I mean, would you guys want to go have your lawyers take care of this and fight the health department?
No, we just want the cost lower.
Okay,
Well-
oh, no, that's a good, well, is that?
You all know the issues.
No, hear me out. Is that a statement with everybody in this room that we want this cost lowered?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so everyone understands that it has to be done, but not at that cost, correct?
Or they were supposed to be investigating about putting it the total amount on our taxes instead of us having to pay this $5,000 more to do the permits
You can
and do
sit
the
down,
tie-in for the
everybody.
road.
But it's
They were supposed to be investigating, that was discussed at the last meeting we
Right,
had
right.
with you.
Now, I just want to know what the real issue is here. So as everyone understands, you have to tap in, but now the issue becomes cost. And I think of someone from Ohio State, is that, we have a fight with this guy all the time, so, go ahead, Doc.
Yeah. My name's John Alsop. I live on Miller Ridge Road. You have two issues here. You have Oberlin Road, which you're talking about, and then you have Miller Ridge Road that some of us live on. And part of the cost for that tap-in is Miller Ridge Road, where they've got that sewer line down 20 feet. And that's expensive to tap into. Now, the history on that is Lorain came through with their sewer to the airport, and they asked us for an easement, and we did them a favor. We granted them an easement. And they assured us that we wouldn't have to tap into that sewer. And that's been, I don't know, 15 years ago. We were paid for the land through our land. Well, last year, we got another sewer this way. And that went down 20 feet too. And that doesn't have any laterals on it. And that goes to drain the sewer to nowhere. And it's, for excessive sewage, it comes out of whatever tapped in on 58. Now, it seems to me like we on Middle Ridge Road are being assessed for something that we weren't responsible for. The other factor involved is we have septic tanks. One of the few places in the state of Ohio that septic tanks work is on Middle Ridge Road. We've got 18 feet of sand out there. That's a place that a septic tank works. Now, I don't know if the health department has mandated that our septic tanks are no good. I doubt it on Miller Ridge Road. I think we're being lumped in with something else.
Okay.
All right, this is an issue. You all have all the facts, and I would like to know who's for it and who's against it. How many of you?
It's not, you can't do that to people.
Why not? It's they have to pay for it.
Our septics are working, we're against it.
All right, well, let me have a showing of hands. Who's against it? All right, then, the issue is finished. It's a decision they've made.
Under any circumstances.
What's that?
And I think you get the same hands.
Oh, what's that? No, I didn't hear you, Don. What?
What was that?
I didn't hear what you said.
Ask who's against it under any circumstances.
You just did.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Anybody else, I guess, under any circumstances. You guys want to, I mean.
Yeah.
We're happy with our septic tanks.
That's fine. What I'm saying is, okay.
We have some people who have questions here, sir.
Yes, hi, I'm Alan Grobe, and I represent all the land on the west side of Oberlin Road between the Turnpike and used to be Conrail track. How could the health department want me to tie in the sewer when the health department has never brought me water or gas? If they're concerned for me to tie my sewage into a sewer, then they need to bring me water and gas.
Thank you, sir. David Urig, trustee.
Just to reiterate, the history of this sewer line is, it was a county project in the late 80s to service the airport. It was done without petition. It was done, quote, as a county project. There was, at the time, a gentleman's agreement that there wouldn't be forced tap-ins. However, if you wanted to, i.e. voluntarily, or your system failed, or the property transferred, or you were new construction, you would then be required to use the line. However, the powers that be failed to create a proper system or process to monitor and enforce the connection at the time of property transfer. As a result, many homes that should have connected to the line never were required to connect to the line. What has happened is that the health department has come out and said, thou shalt tap into the sewer line. The county then is faced with a dilemma. They can allow the health department to go ahead and enforce the taps on an individual basis, or they can, and that would be done under the current situation, and that situation is there's a frontage fee and an acreage assessment. It would be a lump sum payment due upon tapping in, and it's my understanding that the county would have to pay for the laterals in that case, because that's what the county's been doing all along. If there's been a bore or a lateral, the county would bring it to the right-of-way line, and then you would be responsible for the line from the right-of-way to the home. And however, go ahead.
David, could you? The county wouldn't pay for that.
The county, before the talk by the health department to tap in, okay, if you wanted to use the sewer line, okay, if you were one of the residents that have tapped in, okay, the county would bring the line to the right-of-way line.
But we did that, but it was charged back to the homeowner. Mr. Carney's shaking his head yes behind you. Ken?
No, to clarify.
Talking about the same thing. We put it in, we charge $53.50 for everyone that's entered in, so, because it's not the length of the line or the size of the line or the depth of the line, it's what you're granting them, and that is service. So each service is equally a
Right, so the service,
$53.50.
the actual cost isn't borne by the county. It's charged back to the landowner.
That is correct. We pay the bill. It could be larger than $53.50, but we pay that bill.
Right.
Because we're in agreement to charge a certain amount of money. However, it is unaccessible. It is unaccessible. They have to pay up front or get a loan from a bank. But and obviously what we're proposing is something that could be done with a governmental agency to put that on a 20-year payback,
Oh.
which would be assessable.
Ultimately, the landowner. Now, we've hit-
Ultimately.
Right, we've hit a couple that have been a little bit over the 53 because we've had some shale and so forth. But ultimately, on the aggregate, taken together, we haven't achieved more than about 5,300 on all the projects. But again, the county doesn't pay for that. We only do the project and then we're reimbursed.
But under some conditions, I believe the county did assume some responsibility, ate, so to speak, some funds on that.
Well, we had a couple that ran, let's say 6,200 because the area was full of shale and it was a
Exactly.
harder time to put in the lateral. But then there may have been a couple that were 42. The charge was still 5,300. So in the aggregate, it washes.
But the current situation, that is without assessment, should the residents be required to tap in, it's dubious whether the west side of Oberlin Road or the north side of Middle Ridge could be required to tap in, since that would require a bore, and boring is one of the defenses against having to tap into a sewer. If you go with an assessment, the frontage and acreage fees, my understanding, would be dropped. You could pay it either lump sum or it could be assessed. It's the same or possibly slightly less than having it put in prior without the assessment process, shall we say option one. However, this would expand the project to both sides of Oberlin Road and Middle Ridge Road. What I really wish the board could do would be to sit down and discuss with the health department, because at this point, your decision is to decide between option A and option B. Okay, the order to tap in is coming from the health department. And what the commissioners have to decide is, do we want it to go option A, where people tap in, pay the frontage and the lot fee, or do we want it to go as part option B, where they would just pay for the laterals and it would be accessible and people wouldn't be required to pay it all at once. Okay, that's what's before the board today. I know sometimes it gets convoluted, and we think that because you're voting on something, you're actually voting for the project or voting for it to go or not to go. I understand that's not the point. And I agree with Mrs. Facey. I don't particularly care for the way this has been handled. There were commitments made in the past, commitments made by the county, and in my mind, the county is going back on its word. I understand what the health department is saying. I don't think I'm asking them to do anything illegal or against their intent, but what I wish that the county commissioners and the health department could sit down and get together, come up with a situation where they could say, yes, you are required to tap in, but let's concentrate on the failed systems, let's concentrate on the property transfers, let's concentrate on the new construction. The rest of the people, we'll get to when we get to them. When we get to them, I don't know, but we'll get to them when we get to them. But you do have to tap in, but when we get to you, I don't know. That's my request. That would be my solution to the problem.
Thank you, David. Commissioner, oh, well, I just promoted you. Trustee Neil Lynch. See that? I said commissioner.
I heard that, and thank you, Commissioner Blair. But I'm not on the docket for this November, so you're going to have two new commissioners that will be serving next to you. I am Neil Lynch. I'm a trustee in Amherst Township. I live on the west side of Oberlin Road in the affected area. And I do want to say we did have this hand vote that was just taken that Commissioner Vasey asked. It was difficult because sometimes you don't know what you're really voting on. I think if we would have asked the question a little bit differently, we might get a different show of hands. If we ask the question, how many are against this project if it's given to you for free, I don't think we would have seen as many hands go up. And I think this is what we've got to look at, is the recognition as to will we eventually have to tie into these sewers? And I think we have to expect that eventually. The answer is yes, because even in the past, it was always that if you had a failed system, as Trustee Urick had just mentioned, or if you transfer the property, that you would have to tie in the system. So now it comes down to how do we get that to the lowest possible cost. And if you recall, we've had these floods of letters coming from the health department going to the residents, and then letters undoing letters, and it's been somewhat confusing. I can tell you that it's been confusing for the trustees also, because on those initial letters, the Amherst Township trustees did not have those letters. It was actually our residents coming to trustee meetings and voicing their concerns in no uncertain terms. And since then, we've been fortunate that the county has given us copies of the letters, and I hope the health department does the same thing, so at least we know what's going on within our particular township. I do want to say, though, in terms of the sanitary sewers themselves and an Oberlin Road, that I am a proponent of sanitary sewers, so you may as well understand that, and I'm going to state that up front. I think that the sanitary sewers, overall, we're not talking about soil conditions. The gentleman mentioned on Middle Ridge, yes, those are excellent soil conditions for a private system. There's no doubt about that. But overall, for this county, if we want this county to progress, and we want to make sure that we do not have failed systems that are degrading our environment, that sanitary sewers today are one of the better options in a central collection system. Not only in the conveyance and the treatment, but then you're assured that you do have ongoing maintenance. And let's face it, us as individuals, we have only one revenue stream, and that's our job, or that's some fixed income and Social Security, or that's our pension. And for those that are in fixed, it gets even more difficult, because if our private system starts giving us difficulties and we start making those choices as to where we put our funds, I guarantee you the last thing's going to be in improving our sanitary system. And I would make that same decision myself. If my decision was between paying my medical expenses, taking care of my loved ones, or paying for my food, paying for prescription drugs, or paying for my sanitary system, you can bet where I put my money, and I suspect most people here would. If we eventually get to a central collection system, we don't have that concern. That concern is going to be done by professionals that are trained in handling that. And then if they don't do it, we can really make our voices heard en masse, because that affects a large group of people. But that being stated, that I'm for the central collection systems, I now want to come back to this one particular project. That doesn't mean I expect that residents should pay on Oberlin Road for all the costs of this project. And I know that Mr. Carney has worked with us since we found out about the initial letters going out to the residents on how to get that cost down. Currently, there's this, it depends upon where you live, it depends upon your soils, it depends upon how deep you got to go, if they have to bore under the road, which I think is why the health department first said just the east side of Oberlin Road, and us west siders, whew, we dodged the bullet for a while. But you know what? Eventually the piper's going to come. And so what was done was, how can this all be put together to reduce the cost by bundling it as one large project? And at this point, they've done that, and they've come up with cost estimates, considerably less than if we had to do these individually. There's a second issue here, and I heard Mr. Carney mention it. I don't know if everyone here has been at the previous public meetings to understand this. Under the existing conditions, if we have to tie in, we are expected to pay those funds up front or go out and get our own loan individually. One of the requests by some of our residents was, could this be done as an assessment? And I understand that that is the case now, right, Mr. Carney? So in this case, you're not paying it all at once, and particularly for those that may not be staying in their home much longer, and who knows, for whatever reason that property may transfer, is that you are only going to pay for the portion that you're living there. So even though we can look at this in terms of what this total cost is, realize you may never pay that. That may get passed on as you go through your property transfer. So we do have to keep that in mind. And as much as they've driven these costs down, it's still a matter of, gosh, they still seem like a whole lot. Not as bad as what I heard from Columbia Township, but still sound like a whole lot. And I guess we have to go back to, what do our residents really have in terms of a choice? And it was stated in this letter that was mailed out by the county, and it talks about our three objections. Objection 1, the necessity of the improvement. For example, whether the cost exceeds the benefit to be conferred by the improvement. Number 2 for objections, the boundaries of the assessment district. And number 3, the tentative apportionment of the cost of the benefited properties. Well, I guess we got to go back in history. And that's tough for me because I don't have all the history in this particular area. I didn't live on Oberlin Road when the sewer came through. Unfortunately, I don't think our elected commissioners up here were commissioners at the time that sewer came through. Our county administrator wasn't county administrator when those sewers came through. I've heard from our health department, their legal representative, geez, it really wasn't them either. I've heard our county engineer say, wasn't me. Well, guess what? It's dropped in our lap. We have it now. So a decision needs to be made. What do we do and how do we get it the lowest cost? Let's go to item 1, the necessity of the improvement. Whether the cost exceeds the benefit to be conferred by the improvement. Why was this sewer line put in? What's the number 1 reason this sewer line went in? Does anyone remember for all of those? The airport. The airport.
And we're still paying for the airport.
We're paying for the airport, but you know what? And we're going to keep paying for that airport. So let's keep this in mind. And I'm not against the airport. I think long term for this county, that airport is good. But the benefit, where it goes for that improvement, that airport is a county airport that is intended for a benefit for this whole area. It's an economic benefit. We may not have seen all of those benefits just yet. In the future, we will. If we really want to continue as a county and grow stronger, see the jobs come in here, we are going to need that airport. But the thing is, we're putting the burden now on the residents that in time they'll all agree, hey, we were told we wouldn't have to hook up unless our system fails, unless we sell, but we aren't going to have to hook up. Now they're being told that they do. So I think in item 1, they aren't really the main benefiting users. I think, too, if we look at the boundaries of the assessment, the main thing was the airport, and I certainly hope and someday it is the airport. Now I have a concern because the airports come, and I realize they put the commissioners up against the wall. They had a great federal grant coming in. Whenever somebody mentions grants in terms of millions, I mean, man, that's a lot of money. I don't know how many people here have $1 million in their bank account, but I'm not one of them. And so if you say, listen, for just about $40,000, $50,000, you can get me $1 million, and commissioners, you better decide on this, even though you gave me $100,000 before, you know, you're going to turn that $1 million away from the county. Are you going to do that? Absolutely not. No way were you going to do that. But gosh darn it, why is it everybody here has to be assessed, and they have to pay their fair share, and the airport doesn't have to pay for itself? Why didn't the airport get a loan to get that grant in for the matching amount instead of coming back to us? I think I would have much preferred if the commissioners were going to direct that money anywhere as a benefit for the airport, that $46,000 would have gone to, I believe Wayne Bishop said it was $367,000 some odd change for this project. I think that would have been better because right now the residents in Amherst Township are being asked to pay a disproportionate share for that airport to succeed, which is a benefit to the overall county. So I don't know what the commissioners can do in that respect, but I think we need to keep in mind why those sanitary sewers are there. And again, realize I've stated before, I am in support of the sanitary sewers. The thing is, what can we do now? That's the difficulty. I think some of it is going to be what the timing of the tie-ins are. We've talked about the cost of just getting the taps there, getting the risers there. And that's going to be our roughly $5,218.19. Is that what you said, Wayne? $52.18. Okay. You sure on that 19 cents?
Yeah.
All right. Write it down because it may not go in the minutes, people.
And where do we get the $9,000?
No, it's going to cost more than $52.
Right, it's going to be more. And Commissioner Vacy, that's what I was leading up to in terms of what this board may be able to decide. I would certainly, it would have been appropriate if someone from the health department was here to help in guiding this decision.
I think we have to, haven't we, Jim?
Pierce is on vacation.
Oh, he's on vacation?
Well, then we may be going the same route that Columbia Township did, other than the Amherst Township trustees do not wish to notify the 80 residents. We did that before, and I can go into that history and what we had to do where I felt the health department let us down. My wife and I and some other residents walked door to door to pass out flyers to make sure they were aware of past public meetings. But in any case, what we've got now is, we've got this $5,218.19. I did hear Wayne say that would cost roughly $450 a year to the residents in assessments. My mind just couldn't grasp that. That seems high, so I assume we didn't get a 0% loan? Ooh.
No, it looks like you got a $2,000 community grant connect fee, from what I can see from the September 18th meeting. Is that right, Ken? Or Wayne? Because according to some of the minutes here, it was gonna offset the connect fee. That's what I saw, but you're shaking your head no. No? Oh, okay, I guess not.
Any chance of 0%, Wayne? Any chance of 0%? Oh, I see Ken shaking no too. I don't know. I like the loans they're getting in Columbia Township better than the ones they're giving out to Amherst Township. I don't know what's happening there.
Why do we keep saying 5,000 if it's actually $9,535 that the residents are going to be assessed with?
Commissioner, they're not going to be assessed with 9,000. May I interject for just a second?
Right, go ahead.
The assessment would be for the laterals. What happened here is an all-in cost of what the homeowner will actually bear for backfilling their sanitary and removing it from the property and so forth, and the tie-in fees.
So it's actually
But they're not
9,000.
assessed, but they're not assessed those things.
They may not be assessed it, but it's actually going to cost them $9,535.
Potentially.
Yes.
Let's go through where you may have some options, and I'm glad you brought that up, Commissioner Vacy. Is the goal of the engineering department is reduce the cost of getting in the laterals and the risers and bringing it up to the right-of-way, correct? Yep. $5,218.19. And maybe Ken can get us that grant that Columbia Township may not want? No grant. Maybe the grant could somehow, I think we heard about revolving loan funds, that only is where, for talking about cities and jobs. Again, why did we bring this sewer line in? What was it for? The airport. Why did we want the airport? Economic development and jobs. Anything more we can do there? The county will make money, exactly, from your taxes and those jobs that come in. So is there anything we can do there to help in this cost? I'm only talking about the $5,218. I think that's something that needs to be looked into. Now, to Commissioner Vacy's point, there are those additional costs. There's nothing to take into account the costs going from the person's home to make that connection. And that's where you come up to the over $9,000, and that could vary. It depends upon where the person's location is and what they have to do. But I think what we can do there is possibly consider the timing of that connection. And that, again, is where we need the health department here to decide, or to help the commissioners decide as to how they go forward in here. Because now we can at least have the ability to connect, and connect at the lowest cost, but perhaps that can be left up to the residents in terms of the timing of that connection and the funding of that connection. If they are not forced to actually make that connection, they are only paying about roughly half this cost, or maybe 60% of the total cost, to take it all the way from toilet to pipe. And that's what we have to look at. And perhaps, too, they want to make that decision if they come through a property transfer. Do I want to dig up my yard and landscaping now? Or do I want to do it later, or let the new property owner take care of it? Because let me tell you, it's kind of tough to sell your home when you got that hump of dirt sitting out in the front, waiting for things to settle. So I think that's one thing, if the health department can help the commissioners make this decision. And then Trustee Urick did mention the other situation. You know, there is the question as to failed systems. I can tell you that I haven't gone out and inspected the systems, I haven't looked at them, I don't have the technical training, but my nose tells me there are some that are failed. I know that for a fact, because a ditch runs down near me. I can't tell you where they're coming from, but some systems have failed somewhere. And I suspect that the individuals that have those failed systems are not going to repair those systems. And especially if you know that there's the potential that you have to hook up the sanitary line. Why would you? You're going to wait and see what this board decides. So I would certainly hope is that you could possibly continue this. I don't know if we have any time deadlines as the Columbia project had in terms of financing and funding, but at least if you can get the health department to come through and get some specific answers as to what the timing would be in actually connecting the home, not putting in the taps and the laterals, and also whether there needs to be any inspection on failed systems and have failed systems themselves hooked up, or to give people time to be able to do that. And I think that would be appropriate. I think that is a good compromise for the residents. I don't know if I want to ask for a show of hands, because I suspect that I ask for any show of hands unless they get it free, it's probably going to be difficult. But in any case, I think that's something that should be considered here, and I'd certainly hope that the commissioners could continue extending this hearing till we have some of those answers in place, and perhaps even community development can look at where additional funding might be available to help these residents, since again, why was this sewer put in the first place?
Ron,
The
did you
airport.
check on if there's any other additional monies available?
On this particular project, no, we did not.
Commissioners, to Neil?
Yes.
One particular issue, and thank you for identifying that none of us was here when this issue occurred. We're just trying to correct something. The one thing that is omitted, and obviously I'll be booed for this, is that nobody's being charged for the sewer.
Correct.
They're being charged for the laterals. Had they had to pay for the sewer, the assessments would have been much greater. Okay, so there would have been some probably decreased cost 10 years ago or 12 years ago for the laterals, but they wouldn't. The decreased cost would not have been that hugely significant, where it would have overcome the cost per foot of that sewer coming down that road. So I think we need to keep in mind that the sewer was placed out there, out to the airport at no cost to those residents. It's the cost of the tap-ins that we're talking about and the laterals, but they're not being assessed for the sewer. Is that fair?
Well, that's fair. I didn't
I don't
really
know if you-
intend
I
on to
don't-
rewrite history or
Okay,
anything.
but I'm not trying to say it's fair that what happened here along the process, but I just want to make it, somewhat clear that we're not going back and trying to charge them for the installation of the sewer or the materials for the sewer or the labor for the sewer. The sewer is already existing, and there's no cost for that existing sewer to the homeowners, other than dealing with this lateral issue and so forth.
Correct. Well, with that, I'd just like to finish. I certainly hope that the commissioners would at least try and to continue this with the health department present, so at least that we'd have the opportunity to hear the health department give their comments on this particular issue, and also to offer some guidance to the commissioners as to what leeway they do have on this, and then perhaps we could look at where there may potentially be additional funding, since this original project was intended for the future economic opportunities and benefits Lorain County as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil.
I have, what happened on, and August 15th and August 18th, the health department was at that meeting, and he took a lot of heat, I believe, from everybody that was at that meeting. I don't think it was enough heat, but anyway. And the bottom line is, what I recall, because reading the minutes kind of reminded me of, it's pretty much seems like the position we're in today, is it's up to you guys if you want us to support this or not. And that was a statement I made on August 18th. If you want us to vote no and go it alone, we can go that route. I'd prefer to have another meeting, okay? If you guys can come up with a game plan, if you want. I mean, I hear something on Middle Ridge. Sounds like Middle Ridge doesn't even need to tap in if that's the case with the septics. I don't know if Mr. Bishop can answer that or not, if we have to do anything with Middle Ridge, if the sand is fine, or is that or did the health department says too bad, too sad? I mean,
Exactly.
is that what they're doing? Okay, well then if that's what the health
The
department.
decision was made years ago when the sewer was put in.
I'm not talking about the sewer, I'm talking about the
Yeah.
condition of the septics and the sand. If it's already up to code, then.
Probably, Commissioner Moore, it probably is, but unfortunately, the sewer is running in front of the property. They could have, 900 feet of sand there, and the sewer's there, and the conditions are probably, as the individual indicated, the health department is looking at it saying the sewer is there, it's accessible, and the law says if it's there and it's accessible, you have to tap into it.
Within 2 years, isn't it?
But when Mr. Lynch made the comment that, why don't we wait till we sell each property, again, that is the deal how it is today, as far as I understand it. Now,
It's-
whether or not the health department's enforcing that, I don't think they are.
It's changing. They are, and
We're dealing with a bureaucracy that's not here today, that's forcing people to do something that we
Again,
have to deal with.
I was
That's-
informed by the Health Department, which originated this issue, and I believe Mr. Carney was informed, that they were going to require tap-in of all existing homes that were on this sewer line. Can, you know, they can't see you nodding back there, Ken, so maybe you... All right, sorry.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.